Hey, good morning everyone. I'm out here in the woods. It's a gorgeous day and Royce is down for his nap. So I thought I'd get out here. I've got a narrow 2 to 3 hour window before I have to get back home to take him out. So I thought I'd take you guys on a quick foray in the spring forest. It's just beautiful. As you can see behind me, not a lot of leaves out, but definitely the understory is coming up. So I want to show you some of the understory plants that are coming up and a few of them that are edible this time of year. It's my favorite time of year, guys. It's about, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 degrees out right now, but the sun makes it feel a lot warmer. So let's see what we can find. As you can see, I have my trusty basket here from Slater Basketry. I love this thing. It just attaches to my belt. And inside I've got a few things, my wild plant identification book, and a couple little bags for harvesting wild edibles. I also have with me a trusty knife. So this knife actually comes directly from Austria, and I want to show it to you. There it is. Isn't that a nice looking knife, hey? So I'm just going to head on over here to a little quieter area and I'll go show you the forest floor. The understory is rich with plants right now, and I see a couple of wild edibles here in this frame. Let's take a look. As we creep along the forest floor here, definitely see some forest grasses, and oh, look at, there's a little baby maple coming up. But take a look here. There's some beautiful dappled leaves. This is our first wild edible of the day. What's this one called? This is the trout lily. So this is a member of the lily family, and it grows in the understory. It's kind of an ephemeral plant. You kind of only see it around this time of year right now. It's May, and comes up and then it just sort of disappears. So these plants take a long time to mature, at least 7 years. Starts off with 1 leaf and then eventually 2, and then it flowers. So the trout lily is an edible. Definitely you can eat the leaves, the corms, and the flowers. Wonderful salad green, obviously in moderation. They tend to cause vomiting if you eat too much of them, so be careful. And when you're harvesting, be responsible. They do propagate by runners underground, more so I believe than going to seed, but you want to be careful. Once you take out the root system, that plant is gone. So I pretty much don't harvest too many of the corms. I have a few each season just to remind myself of that really nice taste, and they are really lovely. They're quite plentiful, but I'm still cautious every time I harvest a wild edible. As we creep along through here, I see something else that you guys are gonna love. Ooh, getting thick in here. Look at that. And what's this, guys? Well, this is one of my favorite spring wild edibles. This is called the wild leek, or the ramp. Very popular food for wild foragers this time of year, and certainly what's enjoyable are the leaves for salad and roots as well. They certainly taste, with a bulb, it tastes like garlic. So I'm just going to show you this species right here. A little bit of a closer look. So this one, as you can see, the wild leek, it comes out as 2 leaves. Sometimes it comes out as 1 leaf earlier on, and then it spreads to 2 leaves as the plant gets a bit older. So here's one species. It's got a bit of a red tint to the stalk here. Some of them, different species, have a white tint to them. And if you taste this, it tastes like garlic. Very, very tasty. As you guys know, last year what I did is I harvested a bunch of wild leek, and I basically mixed it with oil and froze it in the fridge in little ice cube trays so I could have it for making wild leek soup during the winter months. So let's harvest a bit of this, and when we're responsible, what we do is we only harvest 1 out of 2 leaves. You don't want to decimate an area, and you can harvest the root system. I don't do it that often because I find that there is a bit of a threat to them here in Ontario. There's a lot of foragers that want to eat them, so I wouldn't really harvest too many of the bulbs, because once you do that, the plant is dead, basically will not come back. So this takes a long time to propagate. These are older plants as well, so harvest responsibly. I only take 1 of 2 leaves, and I don't harvest more than 1/3 of a particular patch. And this patch right here is pretty small, so I'm not going to take too much from this one. I know where I can find more. This is a really small patch of the wild leek, so I'm not going to take very much from here. I just kind of want to show you and give you an idea of how you harvest it. Then we'll go to a bigger patch to harvest. So basically I use my knife, and what I'm going to do is sort of isolate the plant, and I'm only going to take 1 of 2 leaves. So I love these as a salad green, so I just take one of the 2 leaves. I will bring these bags with me. They are a just something you'd use at the grocery store, a reusable grocery bag for fruit and veggies. So I kind of put it in there. If you're a distance from home, it's warm out, you're going to want a cooler. These are perishable, so if you are in a car and it's hot, they will wilt. When I get them home, I wash them and I put them in a crisper. And they keep for quite a while in the crisper, but I do want to prepare them by adding some oil. I kind of blenderize them and I put them in little ice cube trays to freeze them for the winter. You can also blanch them and store them as well to keep the beautiful color. So I just go along here. I don't harvest the young ones, with one leaf. I just give them a bit more time. But you can move quite quickly through a patch, just making sure not to cut both leaves. We just pop them in our bag. For the roots, the bulbs, basically what you do is you bring a little trowel and excavate them from the soil and dust the soil off of them and pop them in your bag as well. I won't be doing that today. I really enjoy the greens and I want to preserve these plants. All right, so you get the idea basically from this patch. I'm not going to take too many, it's pretty small. Let's move on up the trail. I'll show you a bigger patch. I want to show you now a trout lily that has a flower on it. It's early in the morning, so they aren't quite opened up yet, but it's a gorgeous, gorgeous yellow flower. And it's a lily, right? So it looks like a lily flower. So again, these are edible as well as the leaves and the root bulb there, the corm. Once the sun gets a little bit warmer, these will be blanketing the forest floor with beautiful yellow flowers. Now just by this conifer right here, this balsam, you can see in here there's some open trout lilies. Let's just take a really close look. There we go. Like I said, they are a lily, so they have this beautiful flower. 6 petals on it in this one. Just gorgeous. So flowers are edible, very sweet due to the nectar in there. Very important flowers for our returning insects and bees. They need some energy right now, and some of these flowers are the very first things that nourish them this time of year. Messing around in this patch right here, I noticed another plant. It's a medicinal. This one is called blue cohash. It's got 3 leaves right here that we can see, and beautiful shade plant. Eventually there'll be some flowers on here and blueberries actually on the top. So this one is used as a medicinal, mainly used, they feel like it has sort of some estrogenic properties, so for issues with women and menstruation and pregnancy and things like that. So I don't mess around with this plant too much. Certainly touching this can cause a skin irritation in some people. Same with the berries as well. There is toxicity to this. It's an irritation to the gut, so you can get vomiting and diarrhea. So certainly if you know your wild medicinal plants, you have to know how to prepare this properly. One thing I have to mention while we're out here crawling around on the woodland floor is ticks. You want to be really careful. This is the time of year when we all kind of, ticks are on our mind. Certainly ticks are active above 4 degrees Celsius. So they really start moving around and you're more prone to get tick bites this time of year. There's a lot of deer moving around, a lot of migratory birds coming back, so be really careful. Make sure to wear long pants with your socks tucked into your pants if you can, and do a tick check once you get home. Helps if you wear light colored clothing as well. I know I'm not doing that today, but I go home and I check every night. You can buy tick keys from Lee Valley and a lot of outdoors stores, so make sure you have that in your kit as well. You don't want to end up with Lyme disease. That can be crippling and it can be pretty hard to treat in humans, so let's stay safe. Of course, mushrooms are on my mind this time of year as well, although it's a little bit cool for the few that I'm looking for. So I'm always checking down logs and keeping my eye on the forest floor. Morels should be out in the next few weeks. The soil isn't warm enough yet, and I'm waiting for dryad saddle as well. Looks like I'm not the only one foraging in the woods. You can see in your center of your screen there a little red squirrel zipping around looking for nuts and seeds. A lot of them have young in the nests right now, and so they're hungry and they're looking for food. Well, next to this tree right here, here is the Ontario provincial flower. These are trillium. So you can see this is a favorite food of deer. The taller they grow, it just tells you that the deer population may not be as high here. Usually the deer just chow these right down to the ground. But the beautiful white flowers, and here you can get variations of red as well. So this is our provincial flower here in Ontario. Beautiful plant. I'm not going to eat this plant. I'll save that for the deer. Here's another lovely spring edible find. This is Spring Beauty. Let's have a closer look. So there we are. There's the Spring Beauty. It's gorgeous. It's got a faint whitey purple colored flower with little purple lines in it, and it's got 2 leaves. Oh, it's just gorgeous. Look at this. So dainty. I don't know if you can appreciate that. It's so fine. But this is another wild edible that you can add to your spring salad. The flowers and the corms. Beautiful plant. I love this book. It's by Elias and Dykeman. It's my edible wild plants book. I just want to show you Spring Beauty in this book. So there we go. Page 91. There it is, Spring Beauty, just like I showed you there. And this book is great because it not only does it show you the identification of the plant, but also talks to you about how to prepare it. So you can see here, you can nibble on the trails, nibble on the leaves in the trail, or put in salads. They're very good. You can boil them in salted water for an exceptional vegetable, and you can eat the tubers raw or add them to salads. I'll just point out too that there's a relatable edible species look-alike. It's called the Alpine Spring Beauty, and that's what the Alpine Spring Beauty looks like. So it's found in the western US states as well as southern BC and Alberta. So that looks pretty interesting. Very thick leaf. And of course, the Spring Beauty around here, very, very dainty, kind of like 2 little leaves. I'm not going to harvest these ones today. There really isn't a whole lot of them. There's a few in this little patch, but they're just a beautiful woodland flower, and I would hate to decimate them. This isn't a patch I would harvest. There's not too many of them. Just going to appreciate them and show them to you. However, as I walk over here, there is lots of them. So just like blanketing the forest floor in and around here. Let's take a look at that. Lots of them. So here I can feel more confident about harvesting them because, you know, as far as I can see up farther ahead, there are a lot of them. Huge patch kind of right over in here. So this can definitely be harvested for my lunchtime salad. I'm just going to show you what one of the tubers looks like. Kind of just dig it up there. All right, so I finally got the plant out. It's a little bit tricky to dig out, so take your time. As you can see, there's the flower and the leaves and the stem, and this is the part that's actually under the ground. So look above my fingers, that's what you see. This underneath is actually what's underground, so you have to dig deeper than you think. So this part, this little dangly bit right there, that's the corm. That's where all the nutrition is stored for the plant. So this part right here is also edible. Of course, you want to take off the soil and the roots before ingesting. So you can kind of, if you have some water in your trail pack, you can put that down there. So there we go. That's what it looks like. So there we go. That's what it looks like. Covered in dirt. Just going to kind of clean it off a little bit. And yeah, I just gonna brush it off on my pants, to be honest with you, but I probably should rinse that, but what can you do? Yeah, so it's nice and white and shiny, and then I kind of just peel it, get that top layer off, kind of like that. It's a lot of work, obviously. Okay, here we go. So it's kind of just comes off like a papery husk. And then, of course, my hands are dirty now. Oh well. Strong immune system, right? All right, so here we go. Kind of has a texture of an apple, I'd say. But very earthy, very starchy and sweet. So it's really good. This is what you're left with, and you can eat the leaves. That's what it tastes like. Leaves, but like a really tasty green, you know. And it's from the forest, so it's really, really nutritious for you, and something. It's really cool actually to be able to identify and harvest and eat something that you picked out in the woods. But always, always, guys, be super careful. Be 110% sure of what you're harvesting. When in doubt, throw it out and make sure you know what the poisonous lookalikes are. And just like the trout lily, the flowers are edible too and are nice and sweet because of the nectar in them. Time's getting on. I probably have to get back to Royce really soon, but I want to go and check on another one of my favorite spring wild edibles, and that is the ostrich fern. So they should be getting ready really soon. Where are they? Well, this is a vast forestry tract. So what I brought with me is my little GPS 64S by Garmin. And last year I found some ostrich fern and I marked it off here. So I'm gonna go and go hunt for my ostrich fern. I wanna see how they're doing. They may not be able to be harvested today, but in the next few days. So let's go take a peek and see what's going on. Well, let's just take a look down this little deer path here, and I found a beautiful spring plant that you guys will see in the forest floor. This is called hepatica. It's called hepatica because it's got the 3 lobes of, basically it looks like a liver. So they've got the beautiful white flowers here. Sometimes I've seen them with a pinkish color as well, or even a bluish color. Let's take a look. There is a blue one over here. I just looked up, and you can see here that the stems are really, really fuzzy. And you can appreciate this one is more of a blue color. So this is a wild medicinal. I don't eat this one, but it's just beautiful. Again, great food for the insects and bees this time of year. And of course behind it, just like we saw earlier in the video, we've got some spring beauty coming up right there. Here's a little ephemeral spring pond. I don't know if you guys are hearing the frogs where you guys are, but I am. We've got this basically the chorus frogs right now, a bit of gray tree frogs, and of course the spring peepers. If you guys are interested in the frogs, I did a video on that many years ago called Midnight at the Swamp. Really awesome close-up looks at what these frogs look like, so I'll put the link right here. As I'm walking along the forest looking for my ostrich fern, you can definitely see other ferns out right now. These are not ostrich fern. Ostrich fern, they come up and these little fiddleheads, like they look like the end of a fiddle, covered in a brown paper, and the stem itself is a U shape. So this is not ostrich fern. But I just want to show you there are lookalikes out there. Ostrich fern, the leaf isn't straight like this. It usually would come up, and it kind of fans out in the middle and tapers off at the top. So I'll show you what those look like in just a sec. Oh, take a look. So some of the wild leeks right here, but look at this. This is a trout lily trying to masquerade as a wild leek. It is huge. Look at that leaf. So this is quite a mature plant, almost the size of my hand, and it's just sitting in here quietly amongst the wild leeks, trying not to be noticed. So here's some more fern. You might think, oh, jackpot, it's a fiddlehead because it looks like a fiddlehead, but it's not. This one has got lots and lots of hair on its stem, and it's basically part of this fern right here. So, it's all kind of coiled up like a fiddlehead, but does not have the grooved stem, and fiddleheads aren't that furry. It's a little eastern chipmunk. He's foraging as well. They came out of hibernation about a month ago. You guys saw them at that last cabin video I did. They're so quick and cute. I just love them. Here is another wild medicinal wild herb. This one's called colt's foot. And you can see here, beautiful flowers, beautiful yellow flowers, and the little leaves are just starting to come out, and it looks like a footprint of like a horse, basically. So this one's called colt's foot. This is a wild edible. It does have some toxic properties, so you really want to know what you're doing when you're working with this plant. Well, here we've reached an area that's pretty plentiful in the wild leeks. As you can see, just as far as you can see, there's big patches of wild leeks. So this is where I'll be getting the bulk of my harvest today. And I want to show you, these are a little bit different species of the wild ramp. And they don't have the red stem. They have a white stem or just a green one. So this is still wild leek. It's just a different species. Such an awesome trail snack. Super garlicky. So better bring some gum with you after having this on the trail. But nice sharp garlic taste, leek taste. Very good. Excellent in salads. Recently I had a salad with wild leek and dandelion leaves, because dandelions are also coming out now too, so keep an eye out for them. You can mix the bitter dandelion leaves with some ramps here, the wild leek, and some other, lettuces that you may have, or the spring beauty, or the trout lily. Make a delicious salad. Again, just watch with the trout lily. If you eat too much of it, you will throw up. It just has that kind of a property to it. So that's awesome. Well, got my little baggie full for now, so I think I'll come back later to get some more, but that's a good start. There's actually quite a lot in there. So when I get them home, I'm going to refrigerate them in I have this little a little crisper that controls the humidity, and I kind of spray them with a little bit of water so they don't wilt. Then you can blanch them, like I mentioned, and freeze them. Quite often I'll chop them up with a bit of oil and put them in little ice cube trays so I can take out little chunks of them to make soup. As I'm going here at my favorite patch, I want to show you what red trillium looks like. Some of you have never seen that before. So I'm just going to sneak in here, and there we go. So there we are. There is a red trillium. I don't know how many of you guys see that around your neck of the woods, but we certainly have them here. Just a gorgeous flower, nice and red. There's actually two there in the frame. And wild leek as far as the eye can see. This is the kind of area you want to harvest in because it's very plentiful. Right next to this trout lily leaf is another little fern coming up. Again, it's not an ostrich fern. It's a daintier little fern. I don't know which one that is, but this one's not ostrich fern. Ostrich ferns, of course, love to grow in and around water or damp areas of the woodland. So they're usually up all throughout here. Just want to show you this plant right here. This is like a kind of a wild gooseberry bush. You can see, or kind of like a currant, that kind of leaf. So I believe this is the wild gooseberry. It's got really spiny stem here. Look at those thorns right there. Ugh. It's a berry bush when it's got all its defense mechanisms up. So that's all around here in the forest. We'll have to come back and check on this later in the spring. I want to show you this. I was digging through the leaf litter here looking for the fiddleheads, and I found wild strawberry. So wild strawberry leaves make an excellent tea. Of course, in June you'll get these little itty bitty red berries out there. The leaves are kind of fuzzy. So this is another wild edible. It's the wild strawberry. Just about had a heart attack there. Startled a grouse. A grouse was within about, 8 feet of me. He was hiding behind these bushes right here. Again, they call them the heart attack birds because they shoot up into the air when you least expect it and startle you. Over beyond that hill there is a large flat log, so I'm not surprised to find him around here. He's drumming looking for a mate. So I love to hear the sounds of the forest this time of year. Right now I'm hearing flickers and crows and jays and chickadees and nuthatches, including phoebes and also the great-crested flycatchers. So flycatchers like the phoebe and the great-crested flycatcher rely on insects, and the insects are definitely coming back. There was just clouds of them the other night when I was out for a bike ride. We even have a phoebe nesting in our yard, so I'm pretty excited. And we also have a phoebe at the cabin, which I've been trying to get to nest in a little overhang for years, but really, it likes the forest instead, and that's okay. So we'll have little phoebes on the ground pretty soon. I'm gonna have to keep Royce contained. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna find them, guys. I've been digging around here in the leaf litter for a while, so I'm gonna try a little bit longer. I'm not optimistic. I'm gonna find ostrich fern out right now. No sooner do I say I can't find a fiddlehead than I found one. So here we go. This one's almost up a little bit too far for my liking. It's actually unfurled, but take a look. So we've got that nice deep groove in there, and we've got that nice curled head on them. So it looks like basically like a violin, at the end of a violin. So you want to harvest this part right here. This one's a bit too unfurled, so things are moving quickly because it's gotten pretty warm out. So this one's a little bit better. You can see it's got that brown papery husk on there that you must take off, and you must cook these before eating. You cannot eat them raw, but they come out of the ground like a little ball like that, and they kind of come up. So these are really small. These are young plants, but this is what you eat, this part right here. It's got to be cooked and prepared properly. And this is what I was mentioning earlier. This one's come out a little bit too far. You see all the greens are already out. This is not one you want to harvest for eating. It's definitely when they're at this stage with a little husk on them and they're like that. Going on this area here, and it's getting really mucky in here, but that means we're going to find some things that like water. I want to show you horsetail, which is another wild edible. I use horsetail to make tea. If we look down in this mucky area right here, you can see horsetail just coming up. This is way too young for me to harvest for my tea purposes. You can see right there, it kind of comes out of the ground like a stalk, and as it grows, you can see these little tiny fronds kind of coming out of the stem, and I harvest them when they kind of point upward. I'll show you a bit later on in the season what they look like, but they're starting to grow right now out of this moist area. They love water. You can see the segmented area there of the stem. Makes a tea, when I use the leaves and I dry the horsetail, I make a tea. It tastes a lot like green tea. It's very good. Crows are going crazy. I just heard a barred owl. So it's over there somewhere. Let's see if the owl calls back. May not, but it's pretty loud before. Ah, yes, the price of being a forager, getting dirty. Well, thanks so much for joining me today for an enjoyable walk through the forest to take a look at the forest floor and to showcase some really beautiful spring wild edibles. Remember to forage responsibly and be 100% sure of your identification. And if you want to just go out in the forest and take pictures of them, that's fine too. It's something to keep our minds occupied during these challenging times. Hope you guys are all well and staying safe. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time.